Welcome to the Tuesday, June 9th, 2026 regular meeting of the Troutdale City Council. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll ask Glenn to lead us.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sarah, please call a roll.
Counselor Andrews?
Here.
Counselor Allen? Here. Counselor One? Counselor White?
Here.
Counselor Davidson?
Here.
Counselor Leamy?
Here.
Mayor Rittman?
Here. All right. Mike, is there an agenda update?
No agenda updates, Mayor. There is one letter that we received that is before you from Mr. Anderson.
Okay. Very good. We'll move on to public comment. And this is public comment on non-agenda and consent agenda items is welcome at this time. Public comment on agenda items will be taken at the time the item is considered. Public comment should be directed to the presiding officer and limited to matters of community interest or related to matters which may or could come before council. Each speaker shall be limited to 5 minutes for each agenda item unless a different amount of time is allowed by the presiding officer with the consent of the council. The council and mayor should avoid immediate or protracted responses to citizen comments. We did receive an email from Eric Anderson, which we will put in the record to start off with as public comment. First, I'll start with those on Zoom. Does anyone on Zoom wish to address the City Council during public comment?
Mayor Rittman, Paul Wilcox, Troutdale.
Yes, Paul?
I have a brief comment on the selection committee motion. Do you want me to hold off on that? I didn't know if you were going to take comment on the motion.
Well, we would be voting at that time, so I'll take comment then.
Okay.
Hold off on that. And anyone else on Zoom? How about here in the room? Anybody wish to address the council during public comment?
Are you going to be talking about the water rates?
I do not believe that's on our agenda, so that's a non-agenda item, and water rates are appropriate for this public comment period, since it's a non-agenda item. You follow me? And if it was an agenda item, we were going to vote or something, we'd take the comment then. And if you want to make comment about water rates, it's not on the agenda, so please come forward, state your name, the city where you live. You don't have to give your address, just name in your city. And
Next thing you know, I live in Troutdale, and I saw in my water bill that it's going to increase again for these non-services. And I was wondering how that's calculated through homes, businesses, restaurants. I pay an extra $15 a month. I hear it's going to go up. I don't know if that's true. It said on my water bill it was. Wondering how that was arrived at on the amount and where's the money going and what it's going to accomplish by getting more money out of us. The reason I moved out of Portland is because the outrageous water rates there, and all the money was going to support other things.
well, I believe you're referring to the public safety service fee that we're
Correct.
putting on everybody's water bill.
Right.
Everybody pays it. It is,
Is there a difference between a resident in an apartment building to a business to a restaurant?
not,
I called the water.
there is a difference, but go ahead, Mike, if you will.
So it's by the number of equivalent residential units. So if you're a single family dwelling, that's one. If you're a restaurant, it depends on the size, the square footage, the number of fixtures and however many ERUs, equivalent residential units, are assessed with that particular restaurant. If you're a multifamily, I think it's assessed at about 70%. I could be slightly wrong on that one. Looking to Eric.
Multifamily is more than 2.
Yeah, so if you're in an apartment, like a multifamily complex or something to that effect, then it's assessed at that 70% of an ERU.
Can you give me an example on what a 50-room apartment is charged?
Each room would be assessed at 70% of the.
Oh, each room is,
So you would have a 100-room apartment, they would be assessed at 70, essentially.
okay. I really wish that would have been put on a ballot or something where the people could have voted on this extra money that's going not for water, but for other things like police and fire.
That was a discussion at our budget committee, and what we talked about doing is offering up a operation levy, like a public safety operations levy on the November ballot in lieu of the service fee. So, but it'll take us, even if it passes in November, it won't be effective until.
Is it gonna be on the ballot then eventually?
We're gonna propose it in,
We're talking about it.
I think that would be a better way to go. I can see paying fees that aren't for water and sewer, you know what I'm saying?
I understand. I fully understand. And none of us is pleased to have to do this, but
Is this because the water in the fire department went up so much on?
police and fire.
it was police and fire we're running out of money for services, so. But that was, we discussed it for months, really, and the proposal is to have it go up, I think, to $25.
Yeah, I saw that.
And none of us is happy about it. I want you to know, none of us is happy about it or paying it. But it really doesn't have to do with the water service so much. Those are the bills that go to the households, each residential unit. We had to find some way to collect it, and I'm not
Obviously,
going
you're
to say it's going to be great, you
not
know.
collecting enough money at $15 to raise it, right?
Obviously,
Obviously.
quite right. Or we didn't want to raise it, but we
Should have kept our Troutdale police instead of the sheriff.
in fact are going to be having a work session on that very topic next Tuesday night.
Are we doing a feasibility study on that topic?
The council is having this isn't the time I was going to announce it, I was going to do it at the end of the meeting, but since it's come up on the 16th, is it, of June, a week from tonight, the council is doing a work session. It starts at 6 o'clock, and we're going to be discussing the issue of whether how we go about establishing a Troutdale Police Department, whether we should, whether we shouldn't, how much it's going to cost, why we're doing it, a feasibility study. I bet it will be discussed, but I can't, that's coming up, that's next week, not.
And that's a meeting that's open to the public?
It is a public meeting. We are not, just to emphasize, it is not a meeting where we take public comment, but we welcome written comments for work sessions. But the idea is for us to have a chance to discuss in public. It will be, I assume it's televised or it's recorded or it's going to be available on the city website. The entire meeting, it starts at 6 next Tuesday, the 16th of June.
Because it's a work session, we're taking written comments. And then.
At work sessions, there's a reason for that. I mean, if all the supporters of the sheriff's office would Public, the whole meeting would end up being public comment if it was, and we need a chance to discuss it under Oregon ethics rules. I mean, we as a council cannot sit down and have a work session and discuss a topic like that together unless it's a public meeting, which is good, that's good, but that's the purpose of the meeting next Tuesday.
One last thing that should be considered when you're raising all this water, $15 to 25. Some of us are on Social Security. We don't get raises every year, so it's a hardship. I know you give a discount on the water, which I think there should have been a discount on that extra fee too, for people that can't afford it.
I'm not sure that we don't discount the fee too, but I don't know.
I think there was discussion on the restaurants. Because, and we changed the square footage assessment, so that gave them a modification, but there's a senior discount on the water bill.
I get that.
But I don't think it's discounted with the public safety fee. And
I think it should be. Something to consider. Please.
That was brought up in a discussion that I had brought up myself. Was,
Did you?
I brought it up in,
It's just tough out there. I mean, everything's going up, you know.
I understand.
You guys know that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Someone else, please.
I don't believe it's an agenda item. My house is on the back of my house is on Troutdale Road, and I got a notice about the sidewalk needing repaired, and that's a Multnomah County road. Can I talk to you about that?
Sure. Come on up.
I sent Mike an email. Thank you. Hi, nice to meet you. I sent Zach Hudson an email, only because I know Zach from, I work at Reynolds High School. Hi, Carol. We bought our house in '91. We've lived here for almost 40 years.
For the record, just state your name.
Linda Adelstinson, sorry. My address, 2167.
Need to get the
Okay.
address.
I got your letter. You're right, it needs repaired. It's buckled, it's lifting. I tried to download the pictures on your CAPTCHA and it kept kicking me off. I've had them for years, pictures of where the tree roots. We are the only block on Troutdale Road that has the giant pine trees. And when there's a storm, PG comes and trims them. They used to bring the jail crew and clean up when there was messes, which I appreciate. When they broke Troutdale Road, punctured the road, the roots. I have pictures of that. And then the semi truck came and parked on it for 2 days with a refrigerated haul running day and night for 2 days and broke the road. You guys came and fixed it. Thank you for fixing that because it's right behind my house. Now they want me to fix an 8-foot wide, close to 100-foot long sidewalk that is very expensive. I can't afford that. If it was the front sidewalk that the city of Troutdale wants me to fix, I'd say, okay, I'll find somebody to fix it. That sidewalk is huge and very thick and very heavy and very expensive. I've called and asked a couple people to come give me estimates. No one has showed up yet, which I don't know if that's a bad sign or not. Over the years, I've sent emails and had a meeting with Judge Ray Young a few years ago, and he said, that isn't reasonable to expect you to pay for that. Let's see if we can find some road fund money. And several emails later, they said, we're working on it. We'll get back to you. And I didn't hear anything else, so I'm good with that. Thank you. I'm here to ask for help. Like he said, I am a senior. I'm also disabled. I don't know what to do. I've done some research, a lot of research, actually. The city of Seattle actually has on their website that if damage is caused due to city-owned trees, that the city will take responsibility for repairs. That's a big city, though. Portland has a similar thing where they will pay for it if it's a city road. This is a Multnomah County road. I can't even find out at this point who owns the sidewalk. Do I own it because it's behind my house, or does Multnomah County own it? because there's a setback line, and we bought our house from, I don't know if anybody knows Bruce Towsley, he was an attorney, and when we bought it, he said, you're the only house on this block that has the fence at the setback line because I insisted it be put there. So we have the biggest amount of distance between our fence and the sidewalk. And we keep it trimmed up. I've paid money over the years to have it trimmed up. We bought a brand new fence recently. Now they say you gotta fix it. Last time when this came up, they said you gotta fix it, but you can't take down the tree because it's part of the beautification project, those ugly pine trees, okay? Well, if we can't trim the roots, it's just gonna happen again. We're gonna waste our money. You're gonna not be happy with me again in 10 more years if I live that long and need it fixed again. This isn't fair. I was at Killian's office getting my teeth cleaned last week, looked outside at his brand new sidewalk on 257th and asked him about it, and he said he had a similar problem recently. And he volunteered to pay for trees that have better, I don't know what, root growth, I guess. And then he said he worked out some kind of a deal for the sidewalk. He didn't go into specifics, and I didn't think it was probably my business to ask him that, but he wanted to talk to me about it because he heard me look out the window and go, hey, tell me about the new sidewalk. His is as big as mine. I can't afford what he can afford, obviously, but I guess I'm looking for help. I don't want to come and complain. I've gotten conflicting information from some very nice people who work for the city of Troutdale. One says I can get a free permit to take down the tree. Another one says you have to get it from Multnomah County. It's $300. You have to hire flaggers. You have to block off the roads. You have to have an arborist come. I'm in this really deep. I have some experience in dealing with law problems, but not real estate. You got a probate question, I'll help you out. Call me. I don't know how this works, and I'm asking for your guidance, your help. Zach actually sent me an email back and said, well, if there's no interest, it doesn't sound terrible if they, tack it onto your house. Well, I've spent 30 years trying to pay off this house, wrote my will so that my son can inherit it, so maybe my granddaughter can go to college one day, and I'd really not like to give him a house with a lien on it. So I appreciate any guidance you have. I looked at your agenda for today, and there is a paragraph in here about street tree fund. Any chance somebody could help me out in that area, or I could buy the trees and you can help me with the cement? Whatever you can come up with, I would greatly appreciate it. I don't want to point fingers, and I don't want to cause trouble. I'm here to ask for help.
Sounds like you did contact Mike.
I got our email, yes, and we were doing some background on it, and there's a long history on this particular site, and it is an ADA complaint that led to this enforcement situation. So the city received a complaint from...
Oh, let's lift it up. I understand why. Yeah.
It was an ADA complaint, so we're obligated to move on that. And so there's a few options, and Linda had mentioned it. We can go out and pay for it, but then that triggers the lien situation where it's basically no cost until sale, or there's the assessment program where they have payment and things of that nature where to try to make it affordable. But it is one of those unfortunate situations that Linda's in right now, where there's a sidewalk in a Multnomah County right-of-way adjacent to her house. So based on our code, it's the adjacent landowner's responsibility. And so that then puts it on Linda's shoulders. And that's where our code would allow us to fix the sidewalk, put the lien on. There might be stuff in the council's discretion for something like that, but not sure where you're gonna.
Well, we're not able to handle this
At a meeting.
here right now, but
Sidewalk and a tree.
I'll look into it.
Thank you.
My responsibility.
Okay, listen.
I'll look into it.
I didn't think I'd come here and you'd say, hey, let us write you a check, but thank you for listening.
No, that brings it to our attention. I'm sorry you're having this trouble, and anyway, I'll get discussions with our city manager, our city attorney, and we'll see what we can do. I understand your situation, and
It's a very expensive repair, huge. And it doesn't seem reasonable to expect the average homeowner to fix something that size, especially when nobody seems to know who owns that tree. They won't let me cut it down. I was told that in an email. I have paper trail if you want to see it, but it will take about an hour to read it all. I gave Mike the condensed version of it. Thank you for listening.
We will definitely be talking about it.
And you've been dealing with this for like years.
Sounds like you.
Right?
This has come up before, and granted, you know, it would have been a lot cheaper to fix a long time ago, but we were told that we didn't have to do that. So we're like, okay, maybe it is a Multnomah County problem and not our problem. I can't say that one person told me that and they're at fault for it. That's not true. But several people said, don't worry about it. We're looking into it. We'll see what we can do. So hopefully this time, I'm not saying I'm not willing to pay for part of it, because I understand that, the code says I have to do it, and that's something that's pretty hard to find, but I sure could use some help with this, because this is a big thing to tack onto this poor homeowner. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wishes to address the council during public comment? All right, well, we'll move on then to agenda item number 3, an update from the Port of Portland.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. For the record, my name is Dan Eisenbeis. I'm the Regional Affairs Manager at the Port of Portland.
And good evening, Mayor and Council. I am Chris Damgan, the Development Manager in the Trade and Economic Development Division and a City of Troutdale alum. Good to be back.
We are very pleased and grateful for the opportunity to appear before you this evening to provide an update about Port of Portland activities. As you might be aware, the 2016 Troutdale Master Plan Public Advisory Committee called on the port and the city to strengthen partnership to support the success of both the Troutdale Reynolds Industrial Park and the Troutdale Airport. Part of that is us providing progress updates to you, and part of that is working frequently with your staff on partnership efforts. So with that, we'll just give a brief overview and happy to take any questions. Next slide, please. So we would like to briefly cover who we are at the port, as well as updates about TRIP and Troutdale Airport, and then a couple updates related to the port's impact reduction program, as well as some of our recent economic development activities. Next slide, please. So as you might be aware, the Port of Portland is a public agency that was established by the Oregon legislature. Our mission is to build shared prosperity for the region through travel, trade, and economic development. On this slide in front of you, it shows the assets that the port operates in the region, which include 3 airports, the airport here in Troutdale, as well as PDX and the Hillsborough Airport, 3 active marine terminals, and 6 industrial parks, the newest of which is the Mass Timber and Housing Innovation Campus at the former Marine Terminal 2 on the Willamette River, and then of course the Troutdale Reynolds Industrial Park here in Troutdale, as well as the Gresham Vista Business Park in East County. Given the discussion during public comment about public finance, I will note that the port is organized around 2 business lines, the aviation business line and the trade and economic development business line, which essentially is the industrial properties and marine activities. Federal regulation prohibits the port from using any airport-generated revenue for non-aviation purposes. Moreover, the vast majority of the port's revenue is derived from business transactions such as property leases. We do have a very small property tax increment in the Tri-County region, that generates a total of about $16 million a year, which is about 4% of our non-aviation general fund. With that, I'll hand things over to Chris to review activity at TRIP.
And TRIP, of course, being Troutdale Reynolds Industrial Park, and most of you, I believe, in this room, certainly on council, know that's on the north side of the city, north of I-84, so directed on the map. You can see where Troutdale Airport is. We're talking about largely the colored areas, the 12 developable, actually in total 14 developable parcels that were master planned and developed by the port and over time have largely sold. TRIP is more than just the development properties itself, though. It is also a trail project with the Chalk Chalk Trail, which was completed a couple of years ago, which is part of the larger regional trail system, the 40-mile loop system, if you will, and that also connects ultimately into Sharon Nesbitt Park, which all of you are very familiar with. TRIP was a legacy project that stemmed from the former Reynolds and then later Alcoa aluminum plant that was on the north side of the property. The port purchased it in 2007. The city annexed it roughly around the same time. And it was a Superfund project. And Superfund obviously carries a lot of expectations and cleanup activity, which included also pretty extensive environmental stewardship needs. So the port also developed wetland mitigation sites in addition to developable acreage. I think it goes for especially those of you who've been in the community a long time, you realize that there has been a significant change in that dynamic. The economic impact of TRIP is significant. Troutdale became more than just a small town or a veteran community. It also became a regional job center in which we today employ close to 5,000 jobs directly on site. And it has netted really $800 million of private investment generated in addition to ultimately tax and permit revenue for the city. Next slide, please. So what has occurred? There have been 4 primary developments at TRIP. The FedEx was the first one, and they occupy the first 3 properties that we developed. There is actually still some expansion opportunity for FedEx. They've built 2 out of potential 3 wings off their main distribution site, and they actually have a 3rd site, which has some land constraints a little bit to the east of it. After FedEx came Amazon, which was about 10 years ago, we started having conversations with Amazon, and that has been around now for operating for over 6 years now, which is hard to believe. They took 3 lots from us. Trammell Crow was the developer originally, and they've already made investments beyond their initial investment to the facility. It's also, of course, the city's largest employer. C&S Grocery Wholesalers took down Lot 10 a couple years after Amazon did, developed by Clayco. It's also known as Sundial Logistics. And then recently, the past couple of years, the board transacted on Lot 12 with a private developer who then later sold it to NextEra Energy Resources, which has developed a battery energy storage system facility to support the electric grid and renewable energy investments. While the site doesn't look like much, it looks like a bunch of shipping containers, 20-foot shipping containers. That investment alone is larger than the initial investment in Amazon and has provided a significant boost and will provide future significant revenue boost to the city for its investment in that location. That site came about through a PGE partnership. NextEra effectively develops the property and signs an agreement with an electrical utility to provide that grid resiliency opportunity. So a very unique and very critical site. Earlier this year, the port also has 1 property in the city of Fairview that bleeds over from TRIP, and we transacted with NextEra for phase 2 for another expansion of that facility in a very difficult to develop and hard to reach site. So Fairview will see a similar site that will complement the initial investment here at Troutdale. Next slide, please. And so with that investment, there are still a couple of properties that we still have ownership of. Lots 4 and 5, which are to the east of Amazon and surrounding the water treatment plant here in town. We're currently under an option agreement. We hope to transact with a buyer in late 2026, so later this year. Lot 9, which is a corner property there at Sundial Road and excuse me, Swigert, to the west of Amazon, is still available at 6.5 acres. I will use this to make mention that industrial property has slowed down quite a bit. And that's not just here for the city, that's been across the region, the state, frankly, the country. So while we certainly would like to see some leads on it, we know that it's part of just a larger market downturn at the moment, and we're expecting it to pick back up eventually and have some leads. We also have a small property just to the east of the runway at Troutdale Airport, right where Harlow Road. It's 257th, right at the trailhead to the Chalk Trail. We have a small property there that is, as you can imagine, pretty constrained because of air traffic coming in and out of the runway, but there may be some opportunities for some development down there at the annex lot too. Two other lots which are in private ownership. I mentioned the FedEx property, that's lot number 3 there, and then lot 11, which is to the west of the Clayco site of the CNS Grocer site. That is actually owned by Bonneville Power Administration for potential energy use, but could be considered surplus perhaps. Lot 12 was previously owned by PPA and used as surplus, so there might be an opportunity potentially for sale or maybe for future development, public or private. Next slide, please, Sarah. And obviously, we have the Troutdale Airport. The port purchased the Troutdale Airport site back in 1942. It's continued to operate the airport. We have continued ongoing maintenance activities to ensure the safe operations. We have a couple of projects in the pipeline as far as to keep the airport running well and safe. We're working with Multnomah County on a hangar lease opportunity on the north side of the airport for a short-term lease. And our airport operators, folks, we have regularly tenant meetings with the pilots and the businesses on the property where we talk about issues and try to problem solve where we can. With that in mind, I'm going to pass it back to Dan to talk about ag reduction.
Thank you, Chris. So the port, as one of the largest landholders in the region, works collaboratively with the city of Troutdale as well as other public sector partners on addressing the impacts of homelessness in the area. Our response includes routine outreach, trash collection services, and a reporting system to address illegal dumping and unauthorized camping in a timely and transparent manner. In the past year, we received approximately 175 reports that we addressed, including 20 here in Troutdale. In the electronic version of your meeting packet, the memo from the port includes a hyperlink to our web reporting portal where anybody can log a report and indicate whether it's an instance of illegal dumping or unauthorized camping or an abandoned vehicle, for instance, and provide additional detail and drop an actual pin marking the location or providing an address if there is one. And then that's submitted and is a way for our staff to follow up. We also coordinate directly with service providers and try to connect individuals with services where possible. Next slide, please.
And so, we have been we're talking about our assets. We're also talking about ongoing and future conversations too. And, the port, beyond, running airports or business parks, we're also an economic development partner. And we were heavily involved this time last year. We presented information about our East Multnomah County roadmap. The port helped to set up and convene a group of the 4 cities as well as additional stakeholders to come together to try to align around some higher level economic development priorities for the region and to identify priority projects where the cities and other partners, including Mapping Community College, local businesses and so forth, can coalesce and try to find some alignment and not be perhaps in competition with each other and to understand our priorities. So we produced this EMC roadmap, which did just that. The result of that has been kind of ongoing dialogue between us and the 4 cities in a consortium. It's also afforded us the opportunity at the city's invitation to participate in the city's economic opportunities analysis, which I think is underway right now, and I expect that you all will probably receive updates on later this year. Very important economic planning document that was well needed and be very future forward for the city. And we were pleased and happy to be invited to be part of that. And back to Dan, part of more economic development activity.
Thank you, Sarah. And lastly, just want to highlight a recent partnership between the city and Port and other East County cities regarding a potential opportunity zone designation along the Columbia corridor. So opportunity zones are authorized by Congress and were recently reauthorized as an economic development tool where census tracts are eligible for designation if they meet certain criteria of either being with a poverty over 20% of the tract or the median household income for the tract being 70% or below the area median income for the region or the state, whichever is applicable. Of the eligible tracts that meet those criteria, it is up to the states to actually make designations. And the governor of each state is limited in the number of tracts that he or she may designate. In Oregon, the governor may designate up to 38 urban tracts statewide. If a tract is designated, it presents essentially advantages for individuals to make investments in the tract in real estate development projects, for instance. So certain capital gains benefits. It offers a rolling five-year deferral of capital gains for investments that are made in a designated opportunity zone, as well as a waiver of capital gains on appreciation if the investment is in place for at least 10 years to 30 years. So a fairly potent economic development tool for those designated opportunity zones. The way the process has been set up in Oregon is that Business Oregon solicited local nominations for potential designations and essentially directed local jurisdictions and partners to coordinate amongst themselves and submit nominations. So the Port worked with the cities of Troutdale, Gresham, Fairview, and Portland to submit a joint nomination for the census tract that's outlined on the slide in black, including the red circle. That's all one large tract for designation, along with support from the Columbia Corridor Association and the Urban Flood Safety and Water Quality District. That application was submitted to Business Oregon just late last month, and the governor will forward her selections for designations statewide to U.S. Treasury for sort of acknowledgement between July and September of this year. So we're waiting on updates from the state, but really worked closely with your staff, and shout out to Erica Palmer and the Dr. DeVere. The nomination that was submitted to the state integrated information from each of the jurisdictions that was involved, and this tract is somewhat unique in that it actually includes areas within 4 different cities as well as unincorporated Multnomah County. So with that, we're happy to take any questions, and thank you again for your partnership.
Thank you. Questions from the council? Ready?
Census tract, so that's on the Columbia River waterfront? Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah, so the southern boundary of the tract is essentially I-84 and running west from the Sandy River to our East Portland.
What would be the northern boundary?
To the state line in the Columbia River. It also includes Government Island. I don't think there's going to be much development on Government Island.
I've been asking for this since I've been on council. It's like the only city that hasn't developed their waterfront on the Columbia River, so that's exciting news. You'll definitely get a nomination from me on that one.
Appreciate that. And I think Mike was sold as soon as I noted for him that designation of an opportunity zone would not actually cost the city any money, because the incentive comes from capital gain sort of tax benefits.
Good. Hopefully we'll have some input on that then in the future.
Yeah, I think ultimately it'll be in the hands of the governor, but certainly it's the city's discretion about whether you want to advocate directly with Business Oregon or the governor's office.
All right.
Just have a real quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
The hangar lease with Multnomah County, is that with a hangar that's currently there or the development of a new hangar?
It's an existing hangar.
Is there, I've asked this like 3 different times, but is there any, anyway, is there any plans, I guess, to develop more hangars down there? The opportunity to, I feel like if there was more down there, it would bring more people in to potentially more high affluent people, maybe to store their planes down there and some sort of revenue or be able to do something else down there.
So the Troutdale Airport Master Plan did make some accommodations potentially for additional hangar development. It's down to a question of who pays for the hangar itself, right? There's also the expectation of extension of services. So those are ongoing conversations. It has come up in quarterly tenant meetings as far as that topic, but it also requires some investment as well with the taxiways that we mentioned there too. So it's a little bit of a chicken and egg, but at the same rate, there is some demand, and certainly from existing hangar perspective, like an older box hangar for the county to be able to use an older facility, to have use of it. Private box and T hangar developments, just a little bit of a different story, and we can expand on that certainly.
Mike?
What are the impacts of the loss of the muffler manufacturer? Hear about that? Which law are they on, and what do you presume will be the impacts to Troutdale?
The muffler manufacturer actually was not within the TRIP development. That was a privately or previously owned property, so it doesn't affect the port's bottom line. Certainly it impacts the city, but it was regrettable to hear. But what we did hear, if it's any solace, it's nothing that the city did or didn't do. It was more their company profile, their supply chain, and their markets were just not in the Pacific Northwest anymore.
Welcome. Thank you, Zach. Anyone else on council have questions? Yes, go ahead.
Can you elaborate on the Multnomah County warehouse?
The potential hangar lease you're talking about?
Is it gonna be?
I don't have the details of the lease. My understanding was it was going to be relatively short term, like a 3 to 5 year lease, but I don't have the exact details, so I don't want to speculate and be incorrect.
I know we were heavily involved in when they were trying to move the north side hangars to the south side. Can you give me an update on what's happening with the airport? Is there still an effort to do that and shorten the runway and things like that?
So the conversations from the 2016 master plan at that time, which I know you were definitely involved with, and I was there too. At that time, there was a expectation that the runway would need to have full replacement. Since that time, there's been studies that suggest that we could do some rehabilitation or refurbishment of it to use it to the extent practical. So our staff is looking into those options right now to see where the money is for that, because as you imagine, building a runway is quite expensive and requires FAA contribution on that. So if we're able to find a more valuable solution that keeps the airport running, that's kind of what we're looking at right now. Regarding the hangar migration, the hangars on the north side were not really scheduled to be moved until the 2030s, because that's when the ground leases were up. So that's not eminent at this point. So in the meantime, we're looking at those maintenance activities to keep the airport.
I'm glad you brought up the homeless thing on the approach. The Hope team has been dismantled, so do you guys have security force or people that actually go out there? Because there's people living there right now in that approach.
Are you talking about at Sandy River Delta, 1,000 acres? Or?
Yeah, it's on the, I guess would be the east side of the runway.
Yeah, my understanding, so one of our colleagues manages the impact reduction program. She's in regular contact with the county sheriff's office and other jurisdictional partners, including the city, and monitoring the situation out there and working with trying to get some of those individuals connected with service providers so that they can move into house situations. We've also been in communication with Mike about some of the challenges associated with essentially the juxtaposition of properties that are under different jurisdictional control. And in particular, some of the challenges with having large federal land presence directly next door to not only the Port of Portland's holdings, but the city itself.
Anything else? I traditionally open for public comment on each agenda item, so if you just bear with me, let me see if we have any comments. Anyone on Zoom wish to address this is an update from the Port of Portland? Questions or comments? How about here in the room? Anyone have questions or comments for the port? I'm not seeing any, so we meaning Troutdale has had a good relationship with the port for many, many years. We appreciate the development that's occurred. The sharing of tax revenues when they finally come in after all the discounts end up getting exhausted, and we appreciate the port's activities. It's been a good thing for Troutdale, and we wish you well. So thank you for the update, and carry on.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 4. This is a motion accepting the selection committee's recommendation for appointments for various city committees. And I recall that Paul Wilcox had a comment. I mean, this is usually just a motion and then a vote. And since before we vote, we want to hear from Mr. Wilcox. Paul, if you're ready, give us your comment.
Thank you, Mayor Ridma. I read in the staff report that you advertised for many candidates in the champion. And I just wanted to point out that in the January-March issue, there was a very small reminder that I didn't even see myself until Sarah pointed it out to me. And in the April-June issue, there was absolutely nothing, but it didn't really matter with that issue because the publication didn't come out until the end of June, past the application deadline. So I think you only got 2 non-incumbent applicants out of that whole 2-month recruitment period. So I think it really hurts you missing out on that April-June champion. I know there were probably 3 or 4 reminders on Facebook, but not everybody's on Facebook. But the champion goes out to every resident in the city, as far as I know. So just wanted to mention, try better next time with the champion schedule.
All
All right, well, that's, all. Thank you. Unless there's discussion from the council, we held our, the selection committee was all the councilors and representatives of the various committees interviewed candidates, including those reapplying and new candidates, and made selections that are in the packet, and I would entertain a motion to accept the recommendations of the selection committee.
I would like to discuss real quick, for me.
Of course.
All right, just briefly, there was definitely a lot less committee involvement than I like to see. You know, just to piggyback off of what Paul said, and I appreciate him mentioning that, it does say it is our kind of our general responsibility to essentially put that effort forth to make sure that we do have applicants. So I would be interested in maybe tasking Citizens Advisory Committee on doing something like that as the focus next time around, instead of like a town hall. Essentially, this is a town hall meeting every time we have a city council meeting to some degree. I think that's incredibly important and highly valuable. If I'm not mistaken, based on our city code, I believe if there are vacancies, we do still potentially consider late applications at this point. So from what I read, I would encourage anybody who's still maybe interested in getting involved to take a look at that and see how you might be a good fit for city endeavors in the future and working with other people that are like-minded. So that's all I wanted to say.
All right. Thank you, Zach. Does anyone wish to make a motion?
I move that we accept the motion accepting the selection committee's recommendation for appointments to the Budget Committee, Citizens Advisory Committee, Historic Landmarks Commission, Parks Advisory Committee, Planning Commission, Public Safety and Equity Advisory Committee, and Town Center Advisory Board.
Second. All right. There's no other discussion, and we heard from Paul on public comment. We're about to vote to accept the motion. Last chance if someone wants to make a public comment. I give Paul a chance, and I'll give anybody else either in the room or on Zoom. And not seeing anybody, Sarah, please call the roll.
Counselor White?
Yes.
Counselor Davidson?
Yes.
Counselor Leamy?
Yes.
Counselor Andrews?
Yes.
Counselor Allen? Yes. Counselor One?
Yes.
And Mayor Whitman.
Yes. All right. Move on to agenda item number 5, 5.1. Public hearing and resolution certifying the city of Troutdale's eligibility and election to receive state shared revenues for fiscal year 2026-27. Mary Mueller, Finance Director. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mayor and Council. It's an annual event. I'm going to have a few different items for you for us to move the annual budget process forward. This first item we touched on during the Budget Committee meeting, the state shared revenues, as I outlined in the staff report. There's a few procedural requirements that the state imposes in order for us to receive those revenues. Some of them were already accomplished with part of the process during the Budget Committee meetings, where there has to be a public hearing before the Budget Committee. That was accomplished on April the 20th. Tonight, a public hearing here shortly on the state shared revenues is required as part of the process, and then the resolution that is enclosed in the packet specifies that the city is both eligible as well as elects to receive those revenues. The revenues were incorporated in the proposed budget and also included in what was approved by the Budget Committee. In your packet, there's a outline of those various revenues. The Revenues go to the general fund, and then the gas tax goes to the street fund with 1% to the park and, or bicycle and path trails is what's required by the state statute. Those were all outlined as part of the original budget process, and they remain unchanged for this evening. And so with that, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Resolution certifying the city of Troutdale's eligibility and election to receive state shared revenues. Anybody on the council have questions? I always wonder if any city ever turned it down.
Not that I'm aware of, but, you know.
They were eligible, but they decided not to take the money. But anyway, we've always taken it as far as I know. Before I ask for a motion, I'll see, does anyone on Zoom wish to address the council on this matter? We're about to vote on this resolution.
This is our public hearing requirement.
Oh, I see. Well, all right. I'll open the public hearing then. I'll even hit the gavel. This is a public hearing. A resolution certifying the city of Troutdale's eligibility and election to receive state shared revenues for fiscal year 2026-27. Anyone on Zoom wish to address the council? I don't see anyone. How about in the room? Anyone in the room wish to address the council on this matter? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. And the matters before us.
I move we accept the resolution certifying the city of Troutdale's eligibility and election to receive state shared revenues for fiscal year 2026-2027.
We'll anyway, please call the roll.
Counselor White,
Yes.
Counselor Davidson,
Yes.
Counselor Leamy,
Yes.
Counselor Andrews. Yes. Counselor Allen. Yes. Counselor One,
Yes.
Mayor Rivera.
Yes. All right, moving on to agenda item 5.2, public hearing and resolution adopting the city of Troutdale's fiscal year 2026-27 annual budget and making appropriations. Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, we'll have a procedural requirement for a public hearing shortly. What is typically my practice when he is able to join us at the meeting is if our budget chair is in the room, he is. I welcome him to come up and share any comments as part of the process. We took the budget through the proposed budget to the budget committee over 3 nights. The budget committee deliberated in accordance with the local budget law, made adjustments to the budget. Ultimately, a budget committee approved budget was passed. It was then published under the state requirements, the LB1 form to ensure the compliance. It was published in the Gresham Outlook, as is still required. I'm not sure how many people actually see it there, but it's where it's required to be. That was accomplished. And so then tonight, the process is the council would hold a public hearing on what the budget committee approved. Once that public hearing is closed, if the council has any adjustments that they want to make prior to adoption, that's when they would consider them. But the public hearing is on what the budget committee had approved. And before we go any further, I'll let you make any comments that you wanted to share with the council.
All right. Good evening, Mayor Rittman and councilors. Tanny Staffinson. I'm honored that I was selected to chair the budget committee this year. I believe that the budget committee is the only committee where the mayor and the entire council serve with 7 appointed citizens. That's the membership of the budget committee. And where each member has an equal vote. And this year was very challenging, I think more challenging than it's been in quite a few years, just due to a lot of factors. Budget committee deliberated extensively the funds, the programs, expenses and the projections, and attempted to provide the needed services that the city expects and our citizens expect from us within the limited resources that are available to the city. And the result of that effort is the budget that you have in front of you this evening. The Budget Committee voted to forward for adoption. And this is sometimes a big accomplishment because the Budget Committee takes 8 affirmative votes to do anything. So sometimes gets to be a lot of work. The committee, we always make a request that we just ask the council to vote and act consistently with what you did at the committee. Because it's all of us working together for the best interest of the city. So, thank you.
Thank you. So at this point, Mr. Mayor, be appropriate for the public hearing. Then after the public hearing, then council consider any changes.
Okay, so this is a public hearing on the recommended budget that was recommended to council for adoption by the Budget Committee. That's what this hearing is about. If we want to make any adjustments to the budget, that would occur after the public hearing.
That's the procedure prescribed by the local budget law, and you're certainly
we have to follow that. So I will.
Question.
Yes, go ahead.
So does that mean the public cannot comment after they hear if a counselor has some cuts or changes to the budget? Are you going to allow a second?
Well, the local budget law requires a hearing on what the Budget Committee created as the official, what's referred to as the approved budget. Troutdale has a long history of taking public comment and taking multiple public comments. So if the mayor chooses to take a public comment subsequent in the process, that's certainly at the discretion of the mayor and the council. But we have to have a hearing on what was proposed, at least first.
And I certainly will.
Okay.
Invite public comment afterwards.
Just a little out of sequence of how we normally do it on, but I get it.
We're learning as we go. Anyway.
I don't write the budget law, I just try and follow it.
So in accordance with state law, I'm going to open a public hearing on the budget that was recommended by the Budget Committee to the council. And I'll call this public hearing to order and invite comment by, first on Zoom, Mr. Minkoff. I see your hand is up. Mr. Minkoff, go ahead. Mr. Wilcox.
Thank you. My name is Kevin Minkoff, resident of Troutdale, also member of the Budget Committee for the current fiscal year, member of the Planning Commission as well. Mayor Ripma, councilors, city manager, it has come to my attention that more than one city councilor has the intention to reverse what was voted on at the Budget Committee. As Mr. Staffordson reported, we had approved with all the members of that Budget Committee, with councilors voting a particular way, which I would like to point out so that everyone has this firmly in mind that was all a matter of public record. Their roll call was taken with each vote. Votes were tallied and so on and approved. Now, as I said, it's come to my attention that several councilors wish to reverse their position and undo some of the cuts, for example, that the Budget Committee approved, which of course included all of those same councilors. Now, if in fact the City Council does vote, as they have every right to do, to accept a budget that reverses the position that was voted on by those same counselors, that will also become a matter of public record. And I would really hate, because I don't think any counselor is intending to take a position of hypocrisy or duplicitousness, but it would certainly be a matter of public record that counselors might be deemed to be untrustworthy, that their vote in the budget committee is now being overturned and a contradictory position is now being taken. So I urge the city council and mayor to please take caution, slow down. Remember that we were all participating in what was a very difficult budget process this year, and particularly with new taxes that had to be levied, new fees, I should say, that were all voted into this budget package that was approved. So please, please keep that in mind as you now discuss making changes to what was already approved. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Paul. Paul Wilcox, did you have, yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I didn't initially. I don't want to be a ditto head or anything, but Mr. Minkoff spoke very eloquently, and I agree with everything he said.
All right, well, thank you. Anyone else? I see Sherry's phone. With a hand up.
Thank you. Sherry Winters, Troutdale for 30 some years. Just in what I'm hearing now, I'm very concerned. Adding things back in, I won't be for. And again, I'm just a resident. I think with the guy that showed up to begin with, there were concerns about the fee going up on our water bill. Of course, I did emphasize that was a big concern for me. I guess I have to wait to hear what these amendments are, but I already thought there wasn't enough cuts done. So when I hear this now, it concerns me. Anyway, I just want to be on record saying so.
All right, certainly understand. Thank you. Anyone else?
Looks like Sandy Glenn's, looks like you guys are hand up.
She's her hand up.
Oh, well, it doesn't. Oh, yes, it is. Yes. Sandy Glantz, please.
Thank you. I just want to remind the council that the people that represent and the businesses that claim to want to support are currently in what's basically an unsustainable financial situation in which, I mean, we're already having to reduce our police department time, and that we're already significantly increasing costs to citizens on their monthly water and sewer bill. Those citizens who we are in effect taxing have a mean household income of about $80,000. Your neighbors may be in a better place, but please think about and appreciate those people you represent. They're struggling financially. What may seem like a small amount to you personally can make a real difference to them. That means the majority of those you represent feel the difference in $25 a month in their water bill. And those same citizens are going to be asked to approve additional taxation, whether it's a 5-year funding package or a special fire district. So Troutdale already can't afford its basic job of providing police, fire, and infrastructure. And yet we want to, add in more things, buy new cars, provide for entertainment. I'd love to be able to do that too. But the facts are we need to cut everything we can in order to maintain those basic services and show good faith, not lip service, that we already did everything we could before forcing citizens to pay more on their utility bill or asking them to vote additional taxes in. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? How about here in the council chambers? Why don't you come up?
I just had a curious question on what was the police operations budget last year and the fire department's budget? What did it go up to last year?
Police was 5.2, it's going up to 5.7. Fire was
3.23, going up to 3.478.
Fire was what?
3.23 going up to 3.478.
Thank you. I was just curious.
And then there's also 911 that went from like 550 to 860.
Thank you.
Yes. Gene.
Gene Bentler, resident of Troutdale and budget committee member. And I wholeheartedly agree with all the prior comments that you had on virtual. With the fact of all the costs and all the extra time we spent on the budget this year, to have counselors reinstating some of those budget cuts, it doesn't go over well with me. They have the opportunity to make those changes, and they agreed to make those changes, and now to rescind some of those and add them back in, I don't find suitable nor authentic. We're asking the public to add another $10 a month, and we had complaints during the budget committee that $15 was too much. And we've had more comments tonight about the same thing, along with other expenses. And for the city not to also cut some fat and take some reductions and take some hardships, whatever you want to call them, would just coincide with what we're already asking the citizens of the city to do. I just don't think it would be appropriate, nor would it be very, I personally don't take it very well if we go through the whole process and then the decision is made to rescind the adjustments we spent an extra day going through. It doesn't seem right, it doesn't seem fair, and I don't think the general public would be very much in favor of that. So I would appreciate it if the councilors would leave it as is and accept it for what it was based on the vote of the budget committee, along with all the other comments we've had from the public about it. It doesn't seem very good to have it. And like I said, it's going to be out to the public and those councilors that want it back in. Everybody's going to know about it, and they should. Appreciate your time. Thank you, council.
Anyone else? Yes, Victoria, please. Oh. So you're having me read something. That's perfectly okay.
Okay, so this is from Victoria Rizzo. Sorry I lost my voice. I wanted to really recommend that we keep the cuts that we cut during budget committee. We worked hard on that budget and would like to have our voice heard. It's gone. A little commentary there. We are trying to work on the police and fire, which is essential to the community. There is nothing essential that we cut. Much was postponed or deemed not necessary at this time. I hope you respect the decision of the budget committee and pass it as it was, as we approved it in the entire committee.
All right. Anyone else?
I guess I'll go.
Okay,
Tammy Stephenson, and I'm a member of the Budget Committee. Obviously, I'm speaking as a citizen, not as the chair of the Budget Committee. But, this is a difficult budget, and staff gave us the best budget that they could. And at the end of the day, it's a lot of work by a lot of people, and there's not anything in there that isn't valuable, and there's not anything in there that isn't important. But what we've come down to is, like many other municipalities, we have to do some heavy prioritizing. And sometimes it's just necessary to make some adjustments that are pretty painful. And I'm told that sometimes a good outcome is when nobody's happy. And I don't know that we have a good outcome or a great outcome, but I don't think anybody really left the meeting happy. I think everybody was happy that it was done, but they were disappointed at the decisions that we had to make to accomplish what we need to do as a city. That's what's hard. You look at it, it's like we've gone from 15, we've gone to 25 on the utility fee. The first version we saw was $32.50 for a utility fee. And frankly, I think that would have been, I think the 25 doesn't seem to be very palatable. I think $32.50 would have been worse. And so these are tough decisions, and we're not done with police and fire yet. And it's hard, and I appreciate the work that everyone on that committee did, and I appreciate the work that all of you do, not only on the budget committee, but every day. But it's just, it's a difficult time, and they're difficult decisions. And, like you've heard people say, we, like it or not, we have to do our part. We have to make tough decisions too. And sometimes things have to be postponed, and, if you can't do police and fire, what can you do? So anyhow, thank you.
All right. This is a public hearing. Any other comments? All right. I will close the public hearing. And we'll resume our discussion. This is on the considering a resolution adopting the annual budget. And I'll say that the law, as well as our obligations to who we represent, the voters, allows city councilors, it does not require that I've ever heard of, that city councilors are required to vote the same at the budget committee as they do at the point of adoption. I don't agree that represents hypocrisy. I'd say sometimes additional information comes to light, people change their mind. We are elected officials. We're trying our best to represent the citizens. And I'm second to none in my praise of the budget committee. It was a very difficult year. And there was a lot of painful cuts that we had to make. And we got through the process. But I guess just for speaking for myself, if my fellow councilors have changed their mind on how to vote, that is their prerogative, and I urge people not to hold it against them if there's a reason, hopefully a good reason. But anyway, I do hear what everyone's saying, and I think we all did. So I'll open it up to the council. This is if the council wants to make any changes in the budget that was recommended to us by the budget committee, now would be the time.
I just have a couple things. So one is, what is being added back into the budget that was different from what we agreed upon before?
Well, no one's proposing anything yet. unless somebody proposes something.
So tonight, we're voting on the budget as it was presented at the budget meeting.
Yes.
As it was approved by the budget committee after all the changes.
So when we did cuts to some of the city stuff, that's not being added back in, correct?
You have the right, that's
In this
what,
vote, it's not being
It
added back.
is not being added back in unless we decide to vote to add it back in. By the way, just to be clear, the state law does permit the council to make, I think there's a very small limit, 1% or 10% or something. The council is allowed to deviate from the budget committee's recommendation. I don't think we usually do, but we are allowed to do that. And, but Carol, if we could just adopt the budget as recommended to us by the budget committee. At this point, no one has recommended any changes.
And what's in the packet is what the budget committee ultimately approved. So there's no changes since then. That's what's in the packet.
Because I'm hearing different things. I just want to make sure that that's clarified. Because I felt that we should have dug deeper. Because I remember saying several times that sometime in the future, it's either the budget's going to get tougher if we're not tough enough, or people will lose their jobs. And by God, I don't want people losing their jobs. And I don't see that next year's budget is going to be any better. And I think that the city needs to look at this, and we need to look at this really hard for next year, because I think it's going to be deeper cuts.
it might be. Looking into our crystal ball, I think we were projecting probably a 3 to 5 year before we hit that bottom line based on where we're currently spending.
But I am driving around Troutdale, and coming from my house to come here, I saw 6 houses for sale. 6. And that's what, 6 blocks from here? So are people leaving because they just can't afford it here anymore? And I'm also concerned about people who are on fixed incomes. I brought that up. I brought up the concern of people who are widows who can't afford any increases. So I just want to make sure that tonight I am voting on the budget that was approved that night. Nothing different.
All right, so you as counselors have the authorization to add or subtract, and that's what you're here to debate. So right now, what's been proposed to you by staff is exactly the budget committee has approved. Now, you counselors have a higher authority than even the budget committee, because the budget committee is appointed and works for the council. So this is the budget hearing before the final governing body. You, the electeds, are the final governing body. And so what we heard from the comments is that they don't want you to change anything. Now, nothing's been proposed yet. But I think certain counselors have had or voiced concern or interest in potentially modifying certain aspects. Now, you've heard from the public what their take on that might be, but it's ultimately the council's decision on what you want to do.
But that's not what we would be voting for.
It would be what you would be voting for.
If people are wanting to change things.
Yes.
But if nobody's wanting to change things, it is.
Exactly what was approved by the budget. Yes.
Thank you.
And if somebody proposes a change, the council has to vote on that change before adoption. So just understand, you'll get a chance to say, I don't like that, or I did like that. Further comments or questions? Does anyone have any changes that they want to make in the budget that was recommended by the budget committee? You do?
I do.
All right.
Just 2 small thing. Well, one of them's not just like small, but I don't think it matters. I would like to just make the contingency be back to $3 million. And then with my next comment, I just want to make sure that everybody's clear. What the crux of the whole budget comes down to fire and safety and what is available in the general fund. There are multiple different funds that are funded differently, but I would say 99% of our conversations during the budget committee were in reference to the general fund and how can we extract more money, but how can we best balance that budget to meet the needs of our police and fire and then all of the other things that are in the general fund, which is basically parks and administration. And so there were some changes. There was a couple of changes to other funds that have nothing to do with the general fund, that don't impact the general fund whatsoever, that there's money available for in those funds that were cut. And that was I thought that we did a very good job. We were able to get down from $32 fee to $25 by postponing any changes at the Buxton property that was bought last year, which I felt like that was the number one thing that we were able to do within the general fund that made the biggest impact that people will see in their pockets daily. So that being said, the only other thing I wanted to add in was the street fund. There was a truck that we ixnayed. I just want to add that back in. Solely based on the fact that if you put that truck another year down the road, it's going to cost more money next year. If you want to punt it down the road 3 years, it's going to cost more money. And so I would rather keep on the schedule of the city replacing the vehicles, keeping them up to date, workable, so they don't break down, into a fund, again, a fund that has nothing to do with the general fund. And there is money within that fund for that truck. Those are the only two changes.
The contingency back to 3 million.
Yeah.
And the truck, how much was the truck?
It was $50,000.
The truck, it was $50,000 in the street fund.
Those are enterprise funds, so it would have no bearing on the expense of the public safety fee. So that was the $25. So this has no bearing on it. I think that's what Counselor One's point is on that.
I think the way to handle this would be to take that in the form that is a motion to change
make a motion.
the budget and see if there's a second and if we want to move forward with it.
All right, I'll make a motion that we increase the contingency back to 3 million and within the street fund, put the truck back into that specific budget.
I'll second it.
And to clarify for the record, it's the general fund contingency.
Yes, that is correct. General fund contingency.
Many of the funds have contingency, so I just wanted to make sure we're clear.
All right. And so it's moved and seconded. Glenn?
I had a comment before we
Sure.
By changing that contingency back to 3 million, it puts our ending balance below where we historically always have been. Like, we have a bar set that we don't want to go below. And, there's still going to be over 2 million in that contingency fund. And contingency means that 4 counselors could spend that money. They had a vote. And on the truck, the truck they want to replace only has 80,000 miles on it. And, to people in our community, they would be jumping to buy that truck. And we're not saying you're never going to get that truck, but this is the year where we've kind of hit the brick wall on spending money. And, you can say it's an enterprise fund, but it's still taxpayer money. And I think the message we're trying to send to staff is that we need you guys to be part of saving money, not picking up the phone and call consultants. I mean, we have an excellent staff. And I think we need to utilize them more and outside services less, because this isn't going to be enough money left in our community if we keep, and I voted against the budget. I'm going to vote against it tonight because I didn't agree, the $15 fee doesn't sound like much, but it was $1.4 million taken out of this small community, 5 square miles. And then by raising it to 25, they were trying to do $32. That brought in another $800,000. So it's more than the increase we got on both contracts and 911. So it's like, and I realize what's going on, because the projection is in 2030 to have, which isn't very far away, to have this fee be $69 added to your water bill. And I believe the reason for that is it's going to force us, it's going to be cheaper to maybe join a district and keep paying this fee, that the council is the only one that can raise that fee. And we were never told that when we made it $15. I thought that was going to be it. 1.4 is a lot to ask of the community. It really hurts a lot of people. So that's my speech. I just wanted to explain my no vote that's about to happen.
Did you want to make a further comment? Otherwise, what I think I'll do is, unless there's further, we'll vote on it's a motion to amend the budget that we would eventually be voting on. So it's just a vote to amend the budget to make the 2 changes that Councillor One has proposed. Is that understood? If there's no further comments, let's take a roll call on the vote to amend the budget that was made by Councillor One.
Counselor White?
No.
Counselor Davidson?
No.
Counselor Levy?
I'll go yes.
Counselor Andrews?
No.
Counselor Allen? No. Counselor One?
Yes.
Mayor Ritma?
No.
Fails.
All right. So we are still back to the amended budget. Does anyone else have any changes they wish to propose in the budget?
I just don't have any changes, but I would like to just say that we worked over 3 days with members of the community, to come up with a mutually acceptable budget. And for us to sit here and kind of nitpick it apart, I think kind of does a little injustice to the people who volunteered their time to come up with a solution for the city. And I know there's things in it that I would like to see back in, but I think for us to change it is not something I'm willing to go for. That's it.
Yes, John.
Do we need to discuss this letter from Eric at all in connection with the budget?
I don't think so. If there's something you want to bring up, though, that's your prerogative at this point.
If nobody has anything,
Go ahead.
if nobody has anything, I would like to make a resolution adopting the City of Troutdale's fiscal year 26-27 annual budget as written, without any changes.
That's what that's okay with you? Because, I confess I had a very very modest change I wanted to make, but I'm hearing the sentiment. There's no sentiment. I think in many years, I don't recall the city council changing the recommended budget, at least not very often. So I'm just going to stick to that too. Sarah, please call the roll.
Counselor White?
No.
Counselor Davidson?
Yes.
Counselor Levy?
Yes.
Counselor Andrews?
Yes.
Counselor Allen? Yes. Counselor One?
Yes.
Mayor Ritma?
Yes. All right.
Okay, for my final resolution for the evening, Mr. Mayor, this one doesn't require a public hearing, but the paperwork in the packet is fine, but tiny typo on the agenda, so if you make the motion from reading the agenda, it's 2026, 2027 rather than 25, 27. It's a minor typo, so. This resolution is the last piece of the budget process. The Budget Committee also had to move and approve the property tax levies as one of their statutory responsibilities under the local budget law. That also then comes before the City Council, which is this resolution that's included in your packet for 5.3. This authorizes the property tax levy for the both the, what is referred to as the permanent rate, the general fund, as well as the property tax levy for the general obligation bond debt service for this building. And so with that, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to answer any questions the council may have on this item.
All right, any questions on the resolution imposing and categorizing ad valorem property tax levy for the year 2026, 27? All right. Seeing none, I will invite any public comment before we vote. This is a resolution imposing and categorizing the ad valorem property tax levies for fiscal year 2026, 27. Anyone on Zoom wish to address the council on this matter before we vote? All right, anybody in the room? All right, the matter's before us.
Move and make a resolution imposing and categorizing ad valorem property tax levies for fiscal year 2026 through 2027.
Second.
All right, yeah, go ahead.
Counselor White.
Yes.
Counselor Davidson.
Yes.
Counselor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Andrews.
Yes.
Counselor Allen. Yes. Counselor Wynn.
Yes.
Mayor Whitman.
Yes.
Thank you,
All
Mr.
right,
Mayor.
thank you, Eric. And we'll move on to staff communications.
We have our work session next Tuesday. We have a public safety working group on Monday. It will probably be very similar content for both of those. The mayor and I had an opportunity to kind of chat with the other city managers from Wood Village and Fairview. We have a fire task force meeting coming up this Thursday. We're supposed to hear from Clackamas 1 on that. It's kind of an intro. We're also supposed to get some additional information from District 10 on what their fire proposal will be. So I do not believe that we will get a full-blown proposal from Clackamas 1 at this point. More of just an introduction. This is what Clackamas 1 is. And hopefully get some refining answers from District 10 about how they would propose to operate a fire district given their permanent tax rate and the monetary figure in which they propose to operate. We've kind of been over some of those figures on where we're at. Just to give you some ideas, I'm going to go off memory here, so I might be off a couple cents. But the enhanced proposal from Gresham for 4-city fire with additional fire stations here at Wood Village, Fairview, and one on the south side. Is it Pleasant Valley? Is that? No. Yeah. Are the two additional sites. They were looking at a total assessed rate for that at about $4.76 per thousand. Their current rate for fire service, they were estimating at $3.73 per thousand. District 10 came in at $2.85 per thousand. That's their permanent rate. And then we still haven't heard from Clackamas 1. So those are the kind of three options that have been presented to us thus far. And we're still waiting on what Clackamas 1 can bring to the table. So we'll figure out what direction to go from that in the future. I do hope to present to you revised estimates on overall cost, apples to apples costs on the new Multnomah County Sheriff's Office revised proposal, which took about 900,000 off of their current contract. If we want to go with that, it does show a loss of a couple deputies, a loss of a community resource officer, and a loss of a records tech. So we can chat about those on Monday at the Peacewag and again on Tuesday at the work session, and then compare what the Troutdale Police Department proposal would be for the chief, lieutenant, 2 sergeants, and 8 officers, and how that might work, as well as the build-up and everything for that. So with that, those are my updates for now. I am trying to arrange for a meeting with the Governor's Regional Solutions Office in July. Hopefully Ed, Paul DeVecchio from Ethos, and myself will meet with Governor's Regional Solutions on some infrastructure finance planning over at the Confluence. In addition, I want to talk to them about policy possibilities for our homeless situation that Troutdale consistently has to deal with. In particular, we have right-of-ways and other public areas that are owned by different jurisdictions, and there's no single point person to collaboratively handle those situations. So I wrote a letter, sent it off to all the different agencies asking for some cooperation. I did get a call from Oregon Department of Transportation on Friday last week. I got a call from Kathy Hayes with Governor's Regional Solutions today. I've gotten calls from the Friends of the Sandy Delta and others. Multnomah County Sheriff's Department has also responded, and hopefully we'll be able to work toward a solution on this. I think really we can cut a lot of the bureaucratic red tape if we just identify a point person in every jurisdiction that has the authority to trigger enforcement when necessary. So we'll see if that goes anywhere. And I'll update the council when that transpires. Those are my updates for now.
Okay, good. I emphasize, I mentioned this at the beginning, the work session next Tuesday is devoted to discussing really the comparisons between starting up Troutdale Police Department or continuing to contract with the Sheriff's Office. And Mike and I have talked quite a bit about that, and there'll be a presentation on the basically the numbers, the pros and cons. We're trying to figure out how to have effective law enforcement in Troutdale that we can afford. This is a work session, as I mentioned. It's not, the idea is not, we're not taking public comment, but we will accept written comments, and we encourage those for this work session. It starts at 6 o'clock. We have a short Urban Renewal Agency meeting to adopt that budget at 7. That's statutory. But then we'll return to the work session.
If necessary, right?
And just keep in mind, we're not, as a council, making a decision on whether we're starting a police department yet, but this is the necessary background and education that we and the public need to know whether it's the right thing to do. So anyway, it's very important if you're interested in that topic. All right, we'll move on to council communications, and I assume that starts with you, Glenn.
So at the URA meeting, I know it's mainly about budget. Are we going to get an update on what's going on down there at that meeting?
There really hasn't been much to update. I mean, I wasn't planning on giving an update because we're not really ready to update until we find out what the state can offer us for potential funding for infrastructure. We did get some numbers back from Paul like a couple months ago, but those have just been sitting in stasis until we can get down to Salem. And so I was planning on trying to do that in July.
When we had the meeting with all the chairs of the various committees, one of them, I remember TCAP came in and they were wanting to be kept up to date as well. So I'm worried that that's not happening.
Yeah, there's, like I said, there's not much to update on right now. If I have something to update, I will update.
I just value their input because they worked years on that site and it's a great team. And I think it's one of the most important committees we have right now because of URA. And I thought I'd mention that Troutdale lost a longtime citizen, former mayor and Senator Glenn Otto's oldest son passed, and I had the pleasure of going to the funeral. Well, not a pleasure, but it was well attended, and there was county commissioners there, and former county commissioners. Just thought I'd mention it. That family had contributed quite a bit to the city over the years. That's all I have.
I just want to acknowledge all the members of the budget committee, and we don't get paid for that, and it's no fun. So thank you to everybody that helped. I'm glad we were able to pass it as progressed. So that's it for me.
The only thing I would say is, the reason I was interested in putting that pickup back in is we were told that there's a lot more wear and tear on that truck than a typical $80,000, 80 mile, 80,000 mile. So, and because it wasn't affecting the general fund. But I'm happy that we passed it in.
Yeah, I guess to that end, I would just say, I think, honestly, there probably could have been even more cuts, and I know it's not pleasant, but to the point of several members of the budget committee and public who have mentioned that it's not just about the general fund, it's about everybody kind of in this together and kind of feeling the hurt and making sure that we're all pinching pennies, so to speak. I think we're going to find ourselves there one way or another, and the more work we do up front on it now, the easier that's gonna, I don't know, I wouldn't say easy, but the simpler it'll be going forward. So I do appreciate the budget committee's time and everybody who made that happen. I know we're kind of in for a good discussion next Tuesday, so I'm looking forward to that. I appreciate the comments that the mayor made last week or the last meeting rather, when the sheriff came, discussing how it's not about their any kind of gap in their excellent service. It's purely a matter of what we can afford as a city and having to make some tough calls that way. But I would definitely welcome written comment. I'm more than interested to know kind of, again, where everybody's at in the community on where we go forward with police as well as fire. And I know we have our work cut out for us, but we got a good council, and I know we can put that in. So appreciate you guys. Thank you.
I have two things. One, like, so you know, on Cherry Park Lane, which is Imagination Station Way, there is right in front of Reynolds, there's this crosswalk sign. It's hanging. It's just like hanging. So, although school is out, yay, it is hanging, so maybe we can get somebody to fix that. The other one was the damage that was done at the building at Imagination Station. What's happening with that?
So there was a police, I don't know how much I can really go into because of leads and all that jazz. You get some leads. They did apprehend the responsible parties that were caught essentially vandalizing the building. And I think they're trying to figure out what they should do, whether they're going to press charges or maybe there's community service or something else to some other means of enforcement. So I think they're looking into that.
Is there anything that we can do as a city when we are in school, kind of monitoring that? Because it just seems like every single year, Imagination Station is damaged to some point. Like the bathrooms were closed for an awful long time and they're damaged again. So is there any talk of how we can?
Yeah, I spoke with the SRO that's down there. I usually speak with them every time that there's an event. And this year, I think we've had at least 3 to 4 individual events that we had on camera where I'm talking to the SRO down there to try to get some enforcement or some eyes on. I've called the principal, left messages, I've emailed, left messages, but I've talked to the SRO on a few occasions about how we can try to get some more eyes on that park, but certainly something needs to be done because they're essentially teens that are leaving Reynolds High School, skipping school, what have you, going over to Columbia Park and vandalizing our public buildings and spaces. And that's costing taxpayer dollars to repair, to fix, to monitor, to secure. We have a security service through OPS that goes out to those sites after hours and walks through the park and things of that nature over the summer term. But wintertime, we kind of depend on the SROs at Reynolds to keep the kids from vandalizing over there, and they don't seem to be paying as much attention. We did trim the hedges back, the bushes, to give a little bit better sightline over there. But yeah, I'd like to see some more activity from Reynolds, taking more responsibility since it's their students that have been predominantly vandalizing the equipment. So I don't know how far I'm gonna make it on that, though.
I know there's a safety person through the district that it was Wade Bakley at one time. I don't know who is doing that now, but our superintendent should know that information. I don't know who's the one that replaced that. So, and just my last comment was, we worked really hard at budget. It was tough. We went into a third night, and we went into a fourth night. And so, I mean, it was tough. So I appreciate everybody that was there, and it was a lot of work. Thank you.
I agree with what people said. I think that part of our responsibility is to speak up for the people that voted for us. And I think that we each see things differently, which is why it makes a good team. And so if one member of the team doesn't feel like they can speak up for what they believe in and stuff, I think that means the team is broken. So, so that's kind of my spiel for that. We, as a collective whole, and like the city, like have super difficult decisions to make with public safety. Not only what it looks like, but how it affects you and your daily life. And so, I think that these work sessions are going to be good to get a lot of information out and to hear everybody's kind of different perspectives to hopefully trigger what would be the best option for the whole. But I think something Tanny said, I'm looking at him right now, as the budget is like, if nobody's happy, then maybe that's the best case scenario. And I have a feeling that the decision with that might be something similar to with all that. So yeah, I mean, kids are the worst, right? Okay, that's all I have.
I'll just compliment the citizens and the staff for a great first Friday, last Friday. It was, we happened to have decent weather. It didn't rain. It wasn't exactly hot, but it can get way too hot for it to be enjoyable. And instead, it was just, and it was very well attended. People had a great time. Wonderful music from the band that played at Mayor Square, and so I compliment the staff for a great evening, and the citizens who showed up, and all the vendors and everybody seemed to have a really good time. I certainly did. I also participated in the Rose Parade, the Rose Festival Starlight Parade, or the combined parade that they had on Saturday in Portland. There was a mayor's marching unit, it was called. It was mayors from all over Oregon. I mean, there were at least 50 of them, of us, and it was more fun and better than I thought it would be. Really, honestly, it was great, and it was good to see mayors. All the mayors in Multnomah County showed up. It was hosted really by Mayor Wilson of Portland, but it was well attended, and they had a reception just beforehand at the Oregon Historical Society, and Carrie Timchuk, who's the president of the Oregon Historical Society, mentioned that on July 8th, not the 4th of July, but the July 8th, there's going to be a simultaneous reading of the Declaration of Independence all over the country. It's 6 o'clock on the East Coast, so 3 o'clock here. I'm just kind of planting the seed. That seemed, I'm not expecting staff time. I don't want any speakers. I don't want any loudspeakers set up. But we could, as a community, think about anyone who wants to. The Declaration of Independence has a lot of clauses, so it can be, a group can read it. And it's a wonderful document, and it's our 250th anniversary. So just think about it, July 8th, not the 4th. That's a Wednesday. So anyway, just something I was thinking about doing. With that, I would entertain a motion.
Move we adjourn? Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.
So I look for you.